Before we dive in, just a quick favor. If you're enjoying what we're doing at Angels Among Us, please take a second to rate and review the show. And if something in today's episode touches your heart, please share it with a friend. Welcome to Angels Among Us, the podcast where we share real stories of angelic encounters. Each episode, you'll hear firsthand accounts of divine protection, guidance, and miraculous interventions that remind us we're never truly alone. Whether through a whisper of comfort, an unseen hand of protection, or an unmistakable presence, angels are closer than we think. Join us as we explore these powerful experiences of angels, both seen and unseen. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of Angels Among Us. Today we have a very special guest. This is Saul Martinez Sr. This is, if you remember back episode 4, Samson and Ali, this is Samson's father. And we've only known him for a couple years, but he's a very special person in our life. And we are lucky to know him and be in his life. And we're so excited for you to share and for all of us to be able to learn from you today. So I'll go ahead and do just a quick little introduction, get going on your story. And I'm warning everybody right now, you need to grab some tissue. You'll be able to feel an immense amount of love from this man. And I'm excited to hear it.
All right. Well, I'm really happy and blessed to be on the program today and this series that you guys have developed, and I'm really appreciative of you guys and what you're doing. And I appreciate the friendship you have with my son, and just the blessing of how we got to meet and how God puts everything together and blesses us every day with something. And I just want to say thank you to you guys for being a part of blessing people and just being who Christ wants you to be. That's the biggest thing. When you are doing and sitting in God's will, you will be blessed and you will bless others, and that's what the kingdom's all about, right? So my name is again Saul Martinez. I live in Pasco, Washington. I'm one of the happiest and most blessed men in the world. And I'll just preface as we discussed earlier, I get really emotional when I speak of my family and my friends and just people in general that I love. Um, Things get really emotional for me, but I'll get over it and we'll proceed. But I've been blessed with so many things in life, and one of them is that I just have this passion to always to want to help people and to give back for so many blessings that was given to me and my family, not just my immediate family, but my brothers and sisters and my mom and dad, who I will share a little bit with you a little bit later. But I've always been very active, and I was able to have 4 beautiful children and live in the little town of Mesa. I was raised in I was actually born in Kennewick, but I was raised in a little town of Mesa, and I was married at 19 years old to my beautiful wife, Nettie, and she's from Othello. And we moved into Mesa and lived there for about 15 years. And then in 1998, I purchased the property that we live on. And in 2001, we had built our home, our dream home actually, and moved in 2001. And we've been here ever since in this home, and we've raised our kids ever since. The youngest was about 6 or so, and the oldest was about 12 or 13. I have 4 children, and we've just been overwhelmed. And when I moved to Pasco from Mesa, I got involved with my kids. I wanted to make sure that they got integrated into the school system and that they weren't going to have any issues, because there was these rumors that Pasco was a very dangerous town. Well, it turned out that I got so involved and got to meet so many parents that it was actually the help of 2 ladies that encouraged me to get involved in leadership. Uh, and they said, "Hey, we want you to be on the Pasco School Board." And so one thing led to another. Never thought in my wildest dreams that I would ever be in politics, but uh, I was I they said they invited me to a couple meetings, and I joined them just to be nice and actually to get in. I actually wanted to know what was going on, so I went. And I had no intentions of actually being on the Pasco School Board, but one thing led to another, and it's a long story. But I actually I actually failed. I didn't fail. I didn't win the first election, so I thought, you know, I actually prayed about it and everything, and I went ahead with the process. And I said, as I was praying about it, my wife and I, who was Nettie, really encouraged me. She's so much. She loves people so much, and she really wanted this for not only me but the family. And and I said, okay, I'll go ahead and do it. But we prayed about it, and I said, God, if you want this, you need to open the doors because I'm not going to go campaigning. I'm not going to go door to door. I'm not going to do these things that politicians do. I just don't do that kind of thing. And so I applied. I went to a couple of meetings. And to make a long story short, I didn't even make the primary the first time I ran for school board. So I thought, you know what, honey, I did what I was supposed to do. I tried it. God didn't open the door, so I'm done. Well, it wasn't only about a month or two later, a member of the school board resigned, and then they appointed me onto the school board, and that's how I actually got on the first time. And then I went on to for a couple more terms, and went unopposed. And I was on the school board for a total of 5 years, and 2 of those as president of the Pasco School Board, and that was one of the that was my college for me. I learned so much on budgets and business and things that run a community amongst the education program for the kids, and I was really passionate about helping kids because um, when I was a little boy, we were migrant workers. We would travel from here to Minnesota every summer to go thin beets in the field and work. And I come from a family of 11 children. 2 of them have passed. So there was 9 total that are alive today. And it's just been a blessing to be a part of a big family like that. And we would migrate to Minnesota, come back. We'd go to California every once in a while. I worked in the with the raisins, harvesting raisins and pruning with my uncle who was a contractor in California. But it wasn't until I was about 8 to 10 years old that we were in Minnesota. We came home and it was we were playing in the street. It was potato harvest, and my parents owned a couple of 10-wheelers, and they were big into agriculture. My dad and mom worked very hard, and I'll just kind of veer off a little bit. And they came to the United States, and they came and they were actually married in Texas, and then they went to Oklahoma to go work in the fields. And it wasn't until my father and mother they actually came legally when they were right before they got married. They were able to get all their documentation together to be able to come and work in the cotton fields in Texas. So they get married, they moved to Oklahoma, work in the cotton fields, and then they migrated all the way to Florida, up to Carolinas, up to Maine, Minnesota, Washington, back to
Wow.
California, and back down to Texas. That was kind of the working path for the migrants to stay busy and follow the seasons as they go around the country. And they were just hard workers. And boy, I tell you what, they were the best. My mom's still alive, and I'll talk a little bit about my dad in a little bit. But they were the best. They provided for us, and they gave us the best life they could possibly give us. So that was my life. I'm now of the 9 living children. I'm right smack in the middle, 4 older, 4 younger. And anyway, one summer when I was 10 years old, we came back from Minnesota and came home, and we started working potato harvest. And my mom was in a work driving one of the trucks. My dad was a potato harvester on the potato diggers, and all the kids were at home with my older sister and brother. And all of a sudden, my oldest brother was actually at a football game. He was playing football in high school, and my sister was supposed to be taking care of us. But we're always outside playing in a little town. Nobody ever cared. Then all of a sudden, uh, as my little brother, excuse me, as my brother, he was older between me and my older sister. We were all playing, and we had these little go karts, unmotorized, that we would build, and we'd steer with ropes and the feet at the steering. Very creative, and they would push them down a hill and get speed, and then turn the corner, and it was so fun. Well, and one of those events, I remember like if it was yesterday, I was running from my house to the intersection where this little hill was that we pushed the go karts down, and as I was running there, I didn't see the car coming, but as the car was coming down the street, and my brother was coming down the hill, they met, and the car ran over my little brother, or my older brother. And I remember turning and and seeing him roll behind when the car ran over him, and he rolled behind the car, and he didn't die instantly. We immediately called the ambulance, and our hearts were pumping. We were scared to death. The ambulance comes, and my oldest sister and my aunt, who happened to live downtown Mesa, and she was on the ambulance. She was one of the people running the ambulance. They took him away, and we were very, very scared. But we got the news that he didn't make it to the hospital. He had was bleeding internally, and he passed away. It was a very devastating night, and it was actually me and my younger brother Johnny. We saw everything, and I'll never forget. Uh, and when you have a big family and so many kids, whenever a kid would get hurt, my mom, she was like, "Oh, he'll get over it. He's tough." So when they called her to say, "Hey, you need to come to the hospital," she goes, I think they told her that he had broken his leg, so they wouldn't, so she can get to the hospital and safe. And they said, "No, you need to come over now." She, "He's all right. No, you need to come over now." So then she got the news in the hospital, and I'll never forget the day that she, or that night that she got home, and the reaction that she had, and what I seen my mom.
Mm.
Those are things that those are things that get scarred and embedded in your mind, and you just never forget those things. And I remember being scared to death, and my dad was a very strong man, and that night, I mean, tons of people came to the house to be with my parents and stuff, and my mom and dad were very respected in the community, and amongst all their friends at where they came from in Mexico. And so that night there was hundreds of people at my house in Mesa. And I remember dad putting us to sleep, and it's really interesting. And I don't know why I'm going to share this, just because in Mexico, I remember when my grandmother died, they bring the body to the home to have the visual to be able to see them at home. They didn't have funeral homes back then. And so in my mind as a little 10-year-old, I thought they were going to bring my brother Steven, to the house. And I'll never forget. I couldn't sleep, and I'd open the door because my dad put us to bed. And I said, "Dad, are they bringing Steven home?" And he comes and just hugs me. And I'll never forget. He never cried. And he would just hug me and goes, "No, Steven's not coming home tonight, son. You need to go to bed. You need to go to sleep." And he hugged me, uh, then that's it. We went to bed. But I just remember I thought he was coming home that night, and he never got home. And what was interesting about that loss was that I was 10 years old, and at the time there was a lot of little kids in the town of Mesa, and I was very distracted or easily distracted by them letting me ride their little bicycles, and everybody was being nice to me, and I was kind of a little distracted, so I didn't really grasp the severity of the reality that I wasn't going to have my brother anymore at that age that I remember. I do remember I sang a little song at the church where we had his funeral, and so I remember being sad. I just don't remember it hitting that hard when I was 10 years old. Well, with that, I a couple years passed by, and I think the biggest loss, or the biggest the most pain that I felt was when I was 15 years old. And I say that because my dad, once that happened, we quit migrating to Minnesota. We stayed in Mesa, and my dad purchased a farm. And uh, I remember my older brother, so my brother that passed was between me and my older brother, but he was 7 years older than me, and he got married at 20 years old. And in our culture, once you get married, it's not 18 like most people, but it's when you get married in our family, that's when you're separated and you start your own life. And so that just automatically made me the oldest brother and the man of the house, right? As a teenager. And we used to run the farm, and my dad had so many things going on in business that he relied on me to run the farm, and at the same time, my little brothers were my help, and I had to teach them how to become men and work hard in the field. And I get emotional with that because all my little brothers, all my brothers are my best friends, and they're all millionaires now. They're all very successful businessmen. I'm actually the poorest one of all my brothers. Um, but
That's because you taught them so well.
well, I will tell you that I get satisfaction, and I give myself credit for that. When I see my brothers succeed, uh, my heart can be more blessed to watch my brothers succeed. And more importantly than just money is to know that they still love God and their families are healthy and beautiful, and every one of them have a relationship with God. And we never had issues. Our parents really did a great job somehow um, getting us rooted, letting us know that they love us with all their heart, and how hard they worked for their family and for us. We never took it for granted. We always appreciated it. And I will say that I believe it was the loss of my brother and watching my parents suffer the way they did for that loss that really kept us united. Not just me and my other four brothers, but my four sisters that are alive today. We have family issues just like anybody else, but what I really appreciate about my family is that we never hold a grudge against each other. We get mad, and then the next day we act like nothing ever happened, right? And we just talk things out, and and to this day, all nine of us kids and my mom and dad. Well, my mom now is alone. We all live within 5 miles of each other, and we wouldn't have it any other way. And we have a total. I think the last count was 147 altogether. So, so we have big parties at mom and dad's house, right? Whenever we get a chance. So, anyway, um, I want to share real quick that as I was out in the farm working hard during the summer days, the summer months that we didn't have, football in school, I'll never forget. Some of them, my little brothers were on tractors, and we're all working, and I had to go fix this motor on a wheel line out on the farm. And I'll never forget the wheat was up to my chest, and I was walking out there, and it was really hot, and I was very frustrated. And I was tired because we were working so hard. And I'll never forget walking out to that little motor out in the wheel line to get it moved, to get it to fix it. That I felt empty. I felt an emptiness. I felt tired. I felt like I had nobody to help me. Um, I had loving parents, but they were so busy with they had like three or four businesses going on, and I'll never forget walking out there, and I just started bawling. I just started crying. I said, God, it's not supposed to be me. This is supposed to be Steven. Steven's supposed to be here right now. Why do you give me the load? Then it was right there and then that I remembered a verse in the Bible that one of the pastors shared, and it's in Philippians 4:19, and it says a simple verse says, "He will meet all your needs." And and I don't know, I just felt like at that moment there was a power that came over me. And I was also real mad because the wheel line was broken. I didn't know how I was going to fix it. I had a knife and a crescent wrench, and somehow or another I got that engine running. I just had to move on. I just had to keep going. And so I just remember that moment being so real, and I know that God came down and gave me a strength that was able to get through that tough time in my life, and I felt like I just had so much pressure on me as a teenager, trying to get through all the things that a teenager has to go through in life, and and it was a very powerful moment for me all by myself out there in the middle of the field in 110-degree weather. I remember that was pretty hot. So so anyway, got through that experience, and then I'll move forward, and also want to kind of just share that during this time, as I was in elementary and a teenager into high school, there was so many people in our life that were so nice to us, and that if it wasn't, I'll never forget Mrs. Benavides and Mr. Ewart. Those were two teachers who, without them, I would never be where I'm at today. They gave us the encouragement to never give up, to not care what people say, that there will be haters out there, um, and and they got us through. And I think all of my siblings would they know both of those teachers, and they helped so many of us get through all the tough times. And so anyway, moving forward, time went on, and had another experience where we have our children, we moved to Pasco, and then I see we get really involved. I'm in the Pasco school board. I get, I'm having my kid. I want to be an example. My kids all supported me. My wife supported me 100%. And, my kids grow up. They get very involved in the school. I think both Samson and Saul were both presidents of their middle school years, and they got involved with the highest level of choir and all these events, and they became golfers, and everything was wonderful. They went to college. My girls got scholarship. I mean, I've had such a blessed life. And then my kids started getting married, and I'll just move right into Samson's situation. And you know, Samson and Allie struggled with fertility and having kids, and they finally got pregnant, and things weren't. The pregnancy was really tough, and she ended up carrying SJ Samson James for the full term, and knowing that there was issues. And boy, I tell you that Allie, she's one tough cookie to go through all the things that she did to sacrifice to try to get everything to work good. And then the baby was delivered, only to live only about 2 hours. And I'll never forget that day. We were at the hospital, and I got to hold baby SJ in my hands for about 10 minutes. It was so amazing to me. I just put him in God's hands, made a prayer for him, and while I was doing this and just releasing, and basically, I'm not gonna lie, I was thanking God because I knew that this was a plan for SJ. And there was going to be something good come out of it, and it turned out that SJ has impacted thousands of people already with the studies that they did on him, and uh, and the testimony that his dad is sharing now has touched, I would say, even thousands of lives. And but I was there holding the baby, and what was just as enlightening and overwhelming spirit was that while I was holding him and praying, Samson was singing a song, a worship song with his guitar. And I don't know how in the world that he had the strength to do that. But obviously now we look back, and it was God, it was Christ that gave him the strength. And I'm going to be honest, as a grandfather losing a grandchild, it was tough and it's hard. But throughout that whole experience, watching your kids suffer, Allie's going through a hard time, and Samson emotionally is going through a hard time. I think what hurt more than anything in that experience was the fact that Samson, seeing him suffer, hurt me more than anything. I would come home every night and pray, and I would ask God myself, why in the world are you put my son through this? And and he was just overwhelming me, gave me peace in my heart, and gave me another verse in the same book, Philippians 4:13. And he says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Some simple verses. And it got me through the pain that I was feeling for Samson when he was in the worst of his emotional feelings, losing his son. And and then to top it off, when he had his funeral and he put together a rendition of all the worship songs and the songs he wrote for SJ, and I got to tell you, it was Samson's strength that got me through. So Samson was my angel in the midst of his suffering. In the midst of his suffering, he was my strength. And God showed me that if he can do it, you can do it. And so and to see the testimony that Samson has now in his not position, but his what he's doing at the church. He's a worship leader at the church, and all the people he blesses every day, every Sunday that he sings up there. It's like it's like so much happiness and fulfillment for me. And and I know that for Samson and Ali both, one of their biggest fears was that SJ would be forgotten. And I'll tell you right now, I don't know that that's even possible right now. We not only through all the blessings and the great things that his testimony has done, but we have a memorial back here in our backyard of our house. I have a bench and a little heart with some of his ashes in there. That and on his birthday for sure, and about 2 or 3 times a year, I'll wake up in the morning, look out my back window, and I'll see Samson back there just spending time with SJ. Sometimes he brings Jameson, his new son, and I just see so much strength in Samson that it just gives me the encouragement and the power to just keep going every day and never quitting, never quitting. And so that experience was a pretty big impact on my life. And now moving on to more recently, uh, my father passed away on December 28th, and he was 85 years old. Lived a great life, and I have been taking care of my dad. My brothers were also helped me take care of my dad, but I'm talking about a man who was my hero. He was everything to me, and we lost him on December 28th, and I didn't know how it was going to continue. I said, now what? And it's so amazing because I'm a 55-year-old man. I was making more money than my dad. I didn't need my dad financially anymore, but it is amazing. It is amazing his presence, how important it was in not just my life, but every one of my family members' lives, just to have him present. I didn't realize there was going to be such a void, and I didn't realize there was going to be such a void in my life when my dad passed, almost to the point where I was really discouraged. And I thank God for Nettie every day because through all my losses in life, we've had a couple of bad financial experiences in the past, and my losses with my loved ones. And Nettie has always been my rock right there to always encourage me and help me keep up and keep going. Uh, and I was really struggling with my dad's loss there for a little bit, but I wanted to share something today that was so important, that was so impacting to me, and I don't know if she'll ever see this a program, but she's an old high school friend of mine. Her name is Kaylin Peterson, and she texted me something that I want to share with you guys today. And I thought she was my angel. She was I showed my wife. I said, "Honey, look what Kaylin wrote." And I had talked to Kaylin about this void I was feeling and then how how empty I felt. And this is what she texted me. She said, filling the void, not so sure that's possible. In such a family full of love, one day at a time, sometimes moments to moment. That new normal will find you, but grief is unpredictable. Embrace it and let it pass through you. It's the best sign of all the love you still have left to give to your dad. He will be a part of your lives, although in a different way. I can't begin to I can't begin to tell you that those words is what I needed at that moment. And it turned my day around. It turned my perspective around. And at that moment, I knew and I accepted that my dad was going to be gone, and I knew it was just the circle of life. I knew it was going to happen. But from that moment on, I just knew that special void meant that it was time for me to take that place that my dad had for me and give it to my boys and my family. And that's what drives me every day. Is that if I can be half the father and half the man that he was, then I'll be a great father, a good man. And it's those type of people and angels. We've had quite a few of them, but it was those people in our lives that always came in at the right time, at the right moment to say exactly what you needed to hear. And I believe that it was God. It was God that gave her those words to share with me, and I just want to thank her for it. I don't know. I did appreciate and I did thank her for sending that text, but I hope someday she realizes how important that was for me to at that moment that I needed her to be there. And I have some other friends, all my high school friends that supported me, and then just throughout life, I've had so many people support me. And even as a matter of fact, when I was done with the school board, I I was forced to apply for a city position just because my wife wanted me to continue in the community service, and I wanted to do it too. I just didn't think I was going to be as passionate because I wanted to help children. And anyway, God opened the doors for me there. I got involved with the city, and I was on the city council for 13 years, and the last two as president. And and it was so amazing because all the times I was asked to speak, my every one of my speeches revolved around my father and my mother and their sacrifices that they made for their family and the and the unity in our family. And I just thank God every day because um, without family, I wouldn't be anything. And I'll finish with this. Um, as I am asked to speak in places, um, I live with by five priorities in my life. And those priorities are: number one is Christ. Number two is my wife. Number three is my children. Number four is my career. And number five is my ministry. And I'll just go real briefly. If you, as a man of a household and a leader of a home, if you love Christ, your wife is going to respect you. Your children are going to respect you. And you're going to be blessed beyond measure. Number two is my wife. She is the primary person in this world that I love, and not even my children come before her. And my children need to know that. And I would encourage anybody, if you have a family, your kids need to know that there's nobody like your wife, your spouse, not just your wife, but your husband. They are the priority in your life. And when your children know that for a fact, and you're on the same page with your wife and your spouse, your children will respect and honor that. And when they see a happy marriage and a happy couple, they have statistically a better chance of making it in life. Number three is my children. Of course, we all love our children, but I always made it a point, no matter where I was and no matter what meeting I was in, if my children called, I had to answer their call. And, we teach them at home, you call if it's important. And if my kid was calling me during the daytime, I was going to answer that call. I didn't care where I was. And they knew that. And so the kids knew that they were priority over anything but my wife and Christ, right? And number three is my career. Of course, obviously, without your career, you can't support your family. And I think we're all workers and to supply and provide for our families. And so it's very important that you show priority and your responsibilities. And then the fifth one is your ministry. And for me, it's really interesting because when I moved to Pasco, for the very first time, I moved to a different church. We used to go to church in Othello, and we came over to a church in Pasco, Faith Assembly, and it was a very, very different world over here for us. And I thought I was supposed to get involved in the church, and I would ask God. I said, we actually, my wife was a kids program leader over in the church in Othello where her dad was a pastor. So we come here and we took a break for a year. Say, honey, let's just take a break. Let's just see what God has for us. Well, after about a year, we said, okay, we're ready. And it was through a sermon with about a book called The Purpose Driven Life. And it was so motivating. Our pastor was talking about it, and it was so motivating. I said, okay, God, I'm ready. I'm ready to serve now. So I was trying to find any position within the church, in the youth group, men's group. I was trying to find any position to get involved in the church. And although everything was going okay and everything was working, it just nothing really clicked. And then this whole school board thing started, came available. And I said, God, but I thought you wanted me to serve. And he says, I do. It's just not at church. And I could not believe what I was feeling at that moment. I said, okay, Lord, so if you want me to be involved in the community, open the doors. And that's when I promise you, I think I might have bought a sign just to put in my garage once, but I never had a campaign, never did anything. I just said, Lord, if it's for me, you'll open the doors. And one thing led to another, and and that's how I got involved in community service. And then I was mayor for 2 of those years. Unfortunately for me, it was during COVID. But I honestly believe that God was preparing me all of my political career for those 2 years. I was mayor during COVID. I was the only Latino speaking, Spanish speaking mayor of the Tri Cities, and I was really put a lot of pressure on to be able to communicate to all the Hispanic people. I mean, we all know how critical it was when that first came out, and then the challenges of them wanting me to say things that didn't agree with. But anyway, my message was that everybody had a right to protect their family the way they see fit. But what wasn't, but the only thing that I told them was that the only thing that is not acceptable is that you do nothing. You have to do something. So I'm not telling you to put a mask on. I'm not telling you how to take care of your family, but you got to do something, whether it means disinfecting your house, during COVID and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, overnight, I was trying to open up the businesses in Pasco. And overnight, we went, people did start using their masks just to cooperate and try to get Pasco open again. And anyway, it got to the point where I had a couple conversations with the governor, Inslee, at that time. And we hashed out some things. And anyway, eventually we got open, obviously. And I worked very hard and did the best I can to get things moving again in Pasco. But boy, I tell you what, it put a whooping on me to the point where it was just perfect timing when God said, okay, you did your time. I did a total of 18 years, 5 on the school board and 13 on the city council. And he said, it's time to take care of your dad. And that's when I started to take care of my dad. And it was the best 4 or 5 years of my life was, taking care of my dad and just get to shave him and clean him. And the time that I spent with him was priceless, showing my kids how to take care of how to take care of the elderly. It was just a beautiful thing, and now I just hang my hat on living the legacy that he leaves behind, so that I can do for my kids what he did for us. And I'm just overwhelmed with blessings. I'm overwhelmed with people throughout all my life that have come in to be angels in my life, and then to meet people like you guys that are just so special, and uh, just the way you guys connected in the ICU. Was a beautiful thing, and I just couldn't be more blessed in my life to be involved with the people that I'm involved with, and to be married to my beautiful wife and kids. And I'm just overwhelmed with gratitude. So anyway, that's kind of my story, and I guess I just am pleased to know very good quality people, and my heart overwhelmed with joy.
It's definitely been a blessing to know your family and just I'll never forget just being in that NICU, and obviously it's not the happiest place sometimes, and here comes the Martinez family, and that you guys just always had a smile on your face, and you embraced us like we were your own. And I just love your family. Very affectionate and affectious, I guess would be a good word for it.
I do have I want to touch on a couple things. You've dealt with loss and grief in your life, and especially the first two, we're not supposed to go through that kind of grief, right? I mean, we are, obviously, because it's God's plan, but when you envision your life, those aren't the things that you think of. You think of your parents passing, of course, right? That's something that we all know that we're going to have to deal with. But to lose a brother and then a grandson, those are things that we don't prepare for, right? And there's not a instruction book on how to deal with that kind of stuff and go through it. And for me, I know that when we turn to God, right, those things can they eventually work themselves out. But that doesn't mean that it's easy to have to go through that and deal with that. And we all grieve very differently. And I know that I grieve very differently in certain situations. And looking around, seeing people go through things and watching them grieve, over the years, I've learned how to be more compassionate towards that and understand that we all grieve differently, right? And I firmly believe that I have loved ones that have passed on that are with me and that are on the other side of the veil rooting for me. And I've felt their presence many times in my life. And I wanted to ask you, I don't know the answer to this, but I want to know your perspective on if you've been able to feel the love and the presence of your brother and of SJ and of your grandpa throughout, or your dad, sorry. I just want to know what that has been like for you, if they've been able to comfort you and show up for you.
There is no doubt, Brent. There's no doubt that they bring strength to my emotional, spiritual side. There is not a day that goes by that I don't think. I mean, I've had since I was 10 years old. I'm 55 now. There's not a day that goes by that I don't think about my brother. There's not a day that goes by I don't think about SJ. As a matter of fact, I'll even go beyond that. Allie was pregnant with one of her pregnancies, and she was pregnant. She found out she was pregnant when she climbed Mount Hood, actually. And so when she got back, she had a miscarriage, and we call that baby Hood. And there's not a time I go to Portland that I don't take a picture of that mountain and then say hi to Samson and Allie. Um, and and then my father, of course, they are constantly in my mind and in my heart. And there's not a time when I'm not struggling, going through a hard time, that they give me strength. Their memory gives me strength. Their spirit. I remember my brother how he was. I remember my father how he was. Now, of course, SJ was just a baby, but I see his face. As a matter of fact, I have them all. I have all my babies right here, and I see them every day. Every day, SJ's in this picture. I have 10 grandchildren, including SJ, and then I got two in the oven and two in the freezer. I say because Samson and they decided to do IVF, and we have a couple more embryos, but I have 10 grandchildren and two on the way. Allie's gonna have a baby next month, and Nadine's gonna have one in October. And but to answer your question is, there's not a day that goes by that I don't think about them, and they give me peace. They help me breathe. They help me. Uh, they helped me thank God for the blessings and for the time that I had them. Um, because just the little bit of impact they made in my life has lasted a lifetime for me. And it's just a very special feeling. I don't even know if I could explain it very well, but they give me strength to move on. And it's just it comes full circle with my father who showed me how to end life. You know, my brother and SJ showed me the beginning of life, but my father showed me how to end life. And there's not a moment and not a day that goes by that they're not in my heart and in my memory. And I just want to express that down to my family. And I believe that's what makes us who we are. But yeah, it's the peace that they bring to my life and the strength that keep me going every day.
You spoke about too um, the amount of pride that you have with your brothers and your siblings and their success. And I'm telling you right now that your brother Stephen is just as proud of you and just as proud of them. And you make him smile a lot. I can promise you that.
Well, I know we're gonna fight when we get to heaven because I've got a lot to pay him back for. I tell you what, he owes me one, a big one.
As you were telling your story too, the tragedy of losing your brother so young, losing a grandson, in the moment, those are terrible, terrible things, right? And then as you're telling your story and with SJ in particular, how he's been able to impact the world for good, right? Made me think of a scripture, Romans 8:28. And we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are the called according to his purpose. God is the very best at turning bad things into good. And I know in the moment when we're in that tragedy, the terrible lows of lows, and where we feel like we are alone, if we just have a little bit of patience and faith and trust in our Father in heaven, he will take that and he'll use it for good. And we just have to allow him to do that. And it's been beautiful to be able to hear your story, to be able to hear the good that has come from terrible things. And I'm so blessed for having been able to sit and listen. And I thank you so much. I know that people will listen to this and they will feel of your love, and because of that, they will feel the love that God has for them as well. And I think that's the most important thing, is being able to feel of his love.
Yeah. And if I can share one more thing, I would like to encourage anybody who listens to this. I would like to encourage you with a couple of things. It's nothing probably new that you haven't heard already, but I can express to everyone how important it is to live with those 5 priorities, but most importantly, just love God. Okay. When you love God, everything falls into place. And you'll find that when you have one of those priorities that are not being where they should be, they're gonna you're gonna have issues in your life. You know, if you are not putting your spouse first, you're gonna have a problem with your children. It's the way it works, folks. If you don't if you don't have your if you don't put your kids in priority, you can't do your job right. You can't do your job as effective. And then if you don't do your job effectively, you can't minister and to do what God has designed us to do. Ultimately, you can't minister if you don't have your other things in order. And I just want to encourage everybody that is listening to this, is that when you have those priorities in their place, or when you're running through problems in your life, just evaluate those and say, are these in the right place? And then work on it. Um, I know it may not work for everybody, and everybody's in a different situation. And But I just spoke to a young lady yesterday that was a caretaker for my sister, and I was just expressing to her how it's so important to always try to put your family in a position where they have a better chance of making it, because we're not all going to make it. I mean, the devil's out there. The devil's out there to ruin and destroy and to try to hurt people. But you always want to try to be in a place where your chances and your odds are better. um, and that's why one of the reasons why I take my kids to church. Church isn't going to save you, but if you go to church, any church that has this Christ centered, you'll know that they have a better chance of receiving something spiritually for them to get over their struggles.
Mm-hmm.
And you always want to be in that situation where you're just taking every advantage you can to give them a chance. And this young lady that I was speaking to yesterday, she was born into a very addictive, addiction family, and in a lot of trouble. And I was so much encouraging her to make these moves to make her God and her spouse and her kids a priority, so that she could break that generational curse. I go, you can make a difference in your generations to come, because the Bible says that when you go against God, you can be cursed up to 3 generations. But when you accept God and you follow Christ, your generations will be blessed beyond measure. And I don't know what my forefathers and what my parents did before me, but I feel blessed, and I'm determined to make sure my generations keep going in that direction. And I want to encourage those people who maybe have a grudge and don't have a good relationship with their siblings. I'm telling you, you don't know what you're missing. Man, I love my family so much. I love my brothers. I don't know what I'd do without them. My sisters, and when we do have our issues, like anybody else, you get through them. You talk about them, and you just be civil about it, and then you come to an understanding and compromise. Do whatever you got to do, but don't let a loss of a loved one, like a brother, don't let a loss of a loved one keep you from having that relationship with your siblings, uh, because it's not worth it. Life is too short. But when you have a good relationship with your whole family and everybody's at peace, you would be surprised the doors that open up, the doors of opportunity of all kinds. And people will see the happiness in you. That's my prayer is, Lord, just please today, let somebody see something in me that shines through me for you, so that they can see how good you are. If there's one thing that I can do positive to make somebody happy, to know that I'm a Christ believer and a follower, then that's my goal today, Lord. And I just wanted to close this, or finish this by encouraging the one: go give your mom and dad a hug, man. Go love them to death. Of course we all have problems. Of course there might be issues, but don't let those little things hamper the rest of your life, because your kids will see that, your friends will see that, your family will see that, and it's not something that's very encouraging. But yet, I'll never forget, I was around all my friends, even as a kid, and I remember I had a brother, my younger brother Johnny would get embarrassed when because he would have to kiss my mom before they in front of all his friends. And one time Johnny says, "Mom, let me kiss you here, so you don't drop me off and make me kiss you in front of my friends," right? I put a whooping on him. I got him, and I said, "Don't you ever make mom feel like that again." And I rocked his world right there. And when my mom and dad are around, I don't care who's around. They're my parents, and they're my pride and joy, and just like kids and my wife. And when people see that, and you honestly and genuinely feel that in your heart, it doesn't matter if you're rich or poor. Uh, it's what's in the heart. It's what you feel, and what the doors of opportunity that God opens for you in your heart is just amazing. So, with that said, I hope that somebody could just humble themselves and just pray that God will heal whatever wounds you have in your heart, the grief that you're going through in your life. And it's pretty amazing. I live every day knowing and believing with all my heart that I get to see my brother and my grandson and my dad again someday. And for those people who are on that line of even believing if there's a God, well, I'd rather live believing that I'm going to see him someday and be happy than to be soured thinking I'm never going to see him again. So you don't lose anything, is what I'm trying to say. But the reality is that when you truly, honestly believe that, and know that God will meet all your needs, He will give you the strength to uh, to live every day like it's the last one, like it's a beautiful one. So I hope that was encouraging to somebody. And again, thank you so much for being who you guys are and for this opportunity that you guys give me to share my story a little bit. And I love people. I love life. And I just want to know that someday when I'm gone, that my kids and my grandkids will remember Pops for being who he was. So that's what I got. Thank you.
For generations to come, my friend, because of who you are.
Yeah.
Well, I know there was a lot of advice and truth there. At the end, we like to ask our guests if they would like to share one truth, one thing that you know to be true. What is it?
If there's one thing the one thing to know to be true is that when you genuinely love will love you back, and you will live life to the fullest. Um, and man, and when you love and you find the right partner, you find and I'm just overwhelmed with love. My wife, Nettie, has been the rock. He's praised God for every day that for her life, for what she does to this family. But I just could not tell you that enough. That when you love hard, love will love you just as hard right back, and it's just a beautiful thing. And live every day like there's no tomorrow. Just God, I love it. I love just what we did last Saturday. Golfing at Wine Valley with my son and his friends, and your dad. Get to meet your dad, special man. My son Saul, he's another rock in my family. My oldest daughter Nettie, I guess I should have done this at the beginning. My oldest daughter Nettie, she's got her 4 children over in. They just got to move to St. Cloud, Minnesota, and man, her husband's a theologian, and I don't know, she's got 4 degrees, and she's just a very sharp young lady. And then we got my little sweet Nadine. She knows me more than I know myself. She just knows what I want. She does. She's just my little hero. And then of course Avery. I got Michelle, Saul's wife. She's a man. I've been so blessed with my in-laws, with my daughter-in-laws, my son-in-laws. They love my kids, and they just overwhelm me, and I love them just like if they're my kids. So I'm just overwhelmed with blessing, man. It's just a good thing. And you know what's even more, just as beautiful, is that everybody, and I pray every day that the kids that are surrounded with my children, that they are blessed the same way. And seeing couples like you guys is just, I couldn't be more happy, man. It's awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. I know we've gotten a lot out of this, and I know the listeners will as well. So thank you so much for sharing.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on Angels Among Us. You can find us on YouTube and wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow along for more stories of everyday miracles and reminders that angels are among us. If you have a story to share, please email or DM us with a brief summary. We'd love to hear from you. And remember, when we are waiting, God is working.